I just want to ask the organizers, should we wait for our panelist?
No, ma'am, we are just checking in, but by that time we can start with the introduction.
Sure. We'd actually planned to get right down to it. It's a very interesting topic. But just to set the tone for the discussion for our August panelists, I wanted to say that at least this moderator will not just focus on the social good, if you will, flowing out of AI as an incidental, but I'd also like to spend some time on social innovation as such. So just to set the tone for our discussions. So with that, I think we can start. My first question to you and to our other panelists is, what do you see as the benefits of AI? Are there, other than the economic and the profit implications, which are obvious, some social benefit that can flow from AI?
Yeah, I think the current wave of AI technology which we're seeing today is very transformational, and I think it surpasses everything else which we've seen over the last 20 years, right? Thanks. And it is going to bring with its, or bring along upon its own wave of transformation across the globe, and it's going to be not specific to a certain use case or certain factor of human lives, but across anything which I think I believe which humans does, right? Like it could be healthcare, it could be medical, it could be supply chain. Essentially anything, as ma'am previously said, anything with industry is a workflow, and almost everything is going to be automated. Any knowledge is going to be just more accessible now using AI, right? So, and that is going to bring a lot of good, not just in industry but across the social fabric of the globe itself.
Yeah, so first of all, I introduce myself. My name is Arun Rabra. I'm heading technology in Manipal Technologies. And as a company, we are more focusing on fintech space and doing more financial inclusion and other fintech products to the financial institute. So this is important one. AI technologies have a trend, is a transformed technology, and it's touch all sectors, all domain, everyone. So basically, AI is not a new. So AI starts mid 70s. So how AI starts, but actual use case are emerging so vast in last few years because the come of generative AI, and especially the domain, banking domain. This AI algorithms, AI models used in last 2 decades. And for a social cause, yes, because why these technologies nowadays very popular? The reason means because connectivity is an important factor. The underlying, because AI works on data, and data works with all set of connections and connectivity. Because of leverage 3G, 5G, 4G data, so these AI use cases are emerging. And especially there are various sectors for the social domain point of view, health sector, education, across any sector, supply chain, financial inclusion and banking. AI has various roles, use cases are emerging, which help and touch day-to-day life.
Thank you. Hi. Hello. Hello.
Can you hear the speaker?
Yeah, okay. Hi, thank you. My name is Diwank. I'm a founder of Julep.AI. We are trying to build a platform for making really complex workflows to try to solve really, really hard problems. As Mr. Arun just mentioned, there is, of course, AI has been around since the 50s, in fact. Alan Turing's most famous paper is about artificial intelligence. But at the same time, this feels different, and this is different qualitatively because for the first time we're seeing true generalization. And I think it is important to stress that we are seeing the digitization of cognition, a form of cognition, not exactly human cognition, but something that can understand and think about the world in ways that are similar to people, which is, of course, there are causes of concern there, but it's also amazing because there are so many problems in the world precisely because we have a lack of, a dearth of intelligence, maybe in teaching in remote areas, maybe in trying to understand complicated problems, trying to understand climate change, and I think these kind of problems will, sorry, I think these kind of problems will stand to, gain the most from AI.
So would you like to cover, we're talking of the obvious social benefits from AI that we see.
Let me take just one example, and this is something I've been harping on for quite some time, which is almost 2 decades. This was a case in remote Maharashtra, where a tribal woman who had just delivered was not given a bunch of benefits. One, because she has delivered a baby. Second, she was ST. Third, she was a woman. And fourth, she was handicapped. Now, typically what happens is in every trimester, when the lady goes for a checkup, they are supposed to get paid by the government. And again, typically what happens in the first trimester itself, the PHC or the sub-center says, you don't need to come anymore. Here's, instead of 200 rupees in those days, here is 50 rupees, and you're done with, and come when the delivery happens. Now, what are we really talking about? How can this tribal woman fight against the system? Here is a social benefit that we all as a nation had decided to give it to her, but she doesn't get it. She doesn't get any of the 4 benefits. To get that benefit, she has to knock on the doors of 40 different departments to figure out from which department she's supposed to get what. Now, as you know, it is not possible for even people who are sitting in this room. Imagine the status of a tribal woman who's handicapped, who's pregnant, who needs these benefits. How can you expect them to go and knock on the doors of 40 different departments in Mumbai, traveling from wherever she was? And from there, the viewpoint came is that instead of the citizen going to 40 different departments, because each one of them is what? They're the government. Why can't the government find out that here is a person, here is her profile, here is her age, here is her scheduled tribe status, and so on and so forth, and let me continuously figure out what is the benefit I need to give to her. And that is what AI is. Is that rocket science? It's not. We did this in Karnataka, where we used AI to figure out and give scholarships to 800 girl childs who had no clue that such a scholarship exists. So when the form opened up, it was, as Karnataka is, a digitally enabled form. You open your phone or you go to a cyber cafe, you go to the website and you enter. And then your scholarship comes to your account. How do you expect such vulnerable classes of people to open up a smartphone or to go to a cyber cafe or to access a website and to be able to upload their documents and respond? We went through something called the Fruits database, which is farmers something database, and we triangulated it with other databases, and we figured out if their father is not having income and if their father is given help for whatever farming they're doing, then obviously the daughters are in a bad state. Now, trust me, it is not so simple as saying I'll triangulate multiple departments, because there are multiple judgments that are there which stops us from doing that. I'll not get into the regulatory side of things. But from a purely technical side, we could dig out these 800 girl childs and give them a benefit, and I'm still not sure whether they knew why that money has popped up on their accounts, but we at least figured out who are the people who need this benefit, and we gave it to them. And that's what the power of AI is. I'll stop over here. There are multiple such examples. Using AI, we can really figure out who are the vulnerable sections, reach out to them, give them the benefit, and therefore stop the leakage that happens usually when such large-scale benefit delivery is happening.
That's really helpful. I'll pick up from what Mr. Bhattacharya said and what you said, Diwank. And I want to ask, what will it take for healthcare and for education to reach those remote corners that you both mentioned? Will it be the government? Will it be private participants? Will it be both? Do you see this as a partnership? How will it actually play out? It's utopian, but how will it be achieved?
Is that a question to me?
Yes,
For healthcare. Yeah, so, there are obvious answers that everybody in this room will have. Let's have online healthcare. They can open up an app and they can see the doctor. And somehow through the screen, magically, the doctor will figure out what is wrong with you by looking at your face. It doesn't happen. We have tried that multiple times. We had set up in shipping containers and what we called as micro hospitals. And we set it up in Kurukshetra and Kathal and so on and so forth. The challenge essentially is that I need to have a diagnostics of you, which means I need to do a blood test of you. I need to do certain other tests. If you're a baby and if I put up a machine and I wait and the person who's sitting there, the paramedical worker, instead of 3 kgs, she writes it as 8 kgs, then the dosage given will be fatal based on the diagnostic that comes in. So it becomes extremely challenging because you're dealing with humans, with live humans. And you need to make sure that it's not just an app which enables healthcare to be given, but diagnostics, medical diagnostics, re-engineered, connected back to cloud, sending back that information without any human interference, because you can't have large-scale skilling. And that's the only way to really provide healthcare in the sense of that word. I'll go into various other aspects of healthcare. But if somebody in the village really needs healthcare from a doctor who is well-skilled, then this really is the way to give it. Is it cheaper than actually having a doctor in front of you? The answer is no. Because you're adding up the cost of the doctor and the cost of the telecom and the infrastructure and so on and so forth. So this cost is actually higher. There's always a unstated understanding that, telemedicine will be cheaper. It is not cheaper. Why will it be cheaper? It's the cost of the doctor plus cost of everything else. So many of the initial attempts that we all made kind of failed from an economic perspective. Then the maturity came in that you must have a higher cost. And does that still make sense? Guess what? That makes sense. Because the villager has to take a day off, lose their income, take a bus, go to the local city, the nearest city, and then pay to the doctor. So the telemedicine solution is definitely cheaper than actually going to the doctor. Having said that, there are other telemedicines and other digitally enabled solutions that are out there. And each one of them is making a very, very deep impact. AI is being used to check whether your eyes are okay. It's also being used to check your eyes and see if you got cancer or anything else, or whether you're having a thrombotic attack, and so on and so forth. So it's helping in diagnostics. It's helping in detecting cancer. It's helping in many other aspects, which is exactly what is needed, because you can't have a cancer specialist everywhere, even in a city like Delhi or Gurgaon, and therefore AI helps very, very significantly. But what is called Bharat, which is the bulk of our nation, we need to look at how AI is providing healthcare in a slightly different way, in the manner I just mentioned. That has to be far more comprehensive. There is far more number of devices that we need to make, which is needed for India, which is not being built by anyone else. I mean, nobody else built Nano. We had to build Nano because we had the technology, we could build it. Similarly, there are medical equipments that we need, which is built for India for our requirements, which is going to then be powered by AI.
Diwank, would you like to comment? And then I'll ask Anurag as well. And
I just want to ask sir, a follow-up question.
Sure.
And I understand, right, sir, that that these diagnostic, I think diagnosis is the key, right? And my wife, she is a microbiologist and she does a lot of diagnostic work. And you also rightly pointed out that these devices probably will have to be made by us, right? And I talked to some people from Vedanta who are building a tuberculosis diagnostic, mobile station, and they are deploying it in Haryana in a bunch of places. But then this research and building these devices for India are going to take a lot of research and investment, right? And that is probably where the private, players can come in. But then what ma'am said was, the responsibility is probably from the government side, right? From the think tanks like yours, right? So Are there any initiatives or are there any ways how the government can promote private companies or are doing it already to do this kind of research?
Yeah, I think very good point, and yes, I agree that the government has a significant responsibility because otherwise it's a bottom-up innovation. You can't be, if I take the example of Manhattan Project, now that all of you have watched that movie, it couldn't have happened bottom-up. You have to set up a larger drumbeat to which the rest of the industry follows because there are multiple components to be built up. In fact, yesterday only I was with the Department of Pharmaceuticals with the secretary, and we are looking at the issue of supply chain of just medical devices. So forget about medical devices for Bharat. We don't have the regular medical devices supply chain. If another supply chain issue happens, not just COVID or contagion, but let's say the Houthi attacks. Let's say the transport to the sea routes to India being cut off, and so on and so forth. Will we be able to maintain our machines? Will we be able to buy our machines? Will we be able to manufacture machines? The answer is no. Unfortunately, the answer is no to also anyone else building it. Even US can't build these machines on their own because of the complexity involved. The components come from various parts of the world. But having said that, when we come to the next part of it, which is taking these machines, making it cheaper, more portable, taking it to rural areas, why there have been a lot of innovations. It's not that innovation hasn't happened. 3-electrode pace, what is it called, ECG are there. They are small, very cheap, $100 ECGs built in India, designed in India. Are they been procured by the government medical system? Are they been procured by the PHCs and sub-centers and DHCs and so on and so forth? The answer, unfortunately, is no. So it's not just giving them the incentive to build. I always have been saying it's more important to give them the market. You give them an assured market and things will fall into place. Now you look at many of the innovations, including semiconductor, where the role of the government was to bring the industry together. It was not that the government gave piles of cash. They said, we'll give you a market, we'll help you, we'll co-invest along with you, but you as the private sector has to take it forward. And I believe that's an appropriate model because many key innovations came out of such a model. And I totally agree with you. Government or some such entity has to take the lead and put this together. But the industrial has also needs to come forward and say, this is what we need and we will be with you. Because many instances, initiatives have been taken, but the industry hasn't stepped forward. Subsequently, there have been squabbles about the IPR, including squabbles from the government scientific agencies saying the IPR is ours because we funded it and so on and so forth. So these are all solvable issues, but we need to get together and solve it.
Yeah, so in addition to that, so basically it's a collaborative approach. Not only the government or industry come together. So there is other key stakeholders are also important. Like regulatory is very, very important in shaping and defining this AI space or for all different use cases. And apart from regulatories, technology plays an important role. So if you have right set of technology, right set of tools available to address the AI challenges, that will help. So it has to be a collaborative approach for all different stakeholders.
Thank you. So I think the original question was how we can, get healthcare and education in the hands of remote places and the at-risk population. I think, first of all, in terms of a report card on AI, we're not doing well. India is significantly far behind from, at least, if nothing else, its potential. I think I don't think there is a division of whether a government should do something or an individual should do something or the industry. I think it is, we are at the precipice of something as big as the start of the internet. So if, now with hindsight, if we were all alive back, if we could be transported back then, I think all of us would bet big on internet, even when it looked just like silly modems with kids playing. But we are at the same kind of a doorway in terms of AI today. And I think the most important thing is to rid our institutions of fear and, more importantly, irreverence and, to maybe discard the notion that there isn't something important that's happening. Now, coming back to how we can bring this, I think the most important thing we can do today is to support the people on the front line, the NGOs and the people working daily with Asha Bahue and vaccination programs and so on, and give them the tools for free, whether it's coming from the industry. For example, my startup, we have a free NGO program, and I wish more and more people did that to support these organizations.
Sure, but I have to go deeper into the challenges. I think it's one thing to be self-driven and do this, but then you leave innovation and access, or providing that access, in the hands of those who can. But I think, and just picking up also on the point that you feel, and my general impression also has been that India could be so much more on any tech revolution, including this one. So why are we lagging behind? And a bit on the challenges you face, and whether the government, in its role as enabler, could do much more. Again, just picking up from what Niti Aayog published in April 2022, access to 120 years, you said, Anurag, of data that is available with the government, and who's going to annotate that? Will you open access to all that information? Because when you talk of healthcare or education, we're talking of population sets and data sets and ethnicity. My understanding at present is that the AI that the world is sitting on is Western, and that may not always solve for India, which I think is also the government's agenda, its stated agenda and plan: solve for India and then you solve for the world, only because of the large population size and our ethnicity. So I do want to delve a little bit deeper into these challenges, and maybe I'll ask Anurag to go first, if that's all right.
Yeah, thank you. So I think, in terms of how government can incentivize, I love the Manhattan project idea, and the fact that it's not just incentivizing using funds, but incentivizing as a customer. And of course, government is probably the biggest customer for a lot of, in the industry, right? And it can be. And it also has a lot of data, which, you rightly said. I think what we earlier had talked about was the fact that the Indian government has a lot of historical data or access to a lot of information, which can probably be democratized by providing it to startups or to technology providers, and essentially build some opinionated AI use cases, or based on the data specific to Indian ecosystem, which I think is probably definitely a good idea. And there have been a few initiatives. I think Prime Minister Modi also recently talked about that there was the first time that Indian gene pool was revealed. I think I saw that just a week ago. I think that's a good step forward. But I think similar initiatives can definitely be taken up.
I would say that the biggest thing that the government could do is, actually I would reframe it to say, if I had the power to do so, what I would do, the first thing I would do is buy 50,000 NVIDIA GPUs today and keep buying them every year for the next. And that's 50,000 because the US has actually put a cap on the total number of GPUs India can buy, and there's a list of countries where there's a cap. To give some perspective, Llama model, which now everyone on WhatsApp has access to, was trained on a cluster of 140,000 GPUs, and India has a cap for 50,000. And India does not have 50,000 GPUs. So I think the first thing we should do is we should get the compute so that we can ask, get the academia and the researchers excited to come back to India to study these models, to work on these models. I think that's the first thing I would do. Everything else is secondary.
Great enabler.
Yeah. So regarding challenges point of view, one is definitely the data privacy, because AI works on data. Data is fuel for for this AI, and in fact, government did a great job last year. The act was passed, DPDP Act was passed, and now in maybe in few months this will be rolled out, and let's give a more more visibility or more faith to the end people that the data which is provided or using by the industry is secure enough. So that is the important one for the data privacy point of view. Another one, definitely our technology is another challenge, because AI is not limited to generative AI or particular one. Even AI algorithms are used converting one language set to the other language. So like India is the population of having 26 plus different languages, and providing the localized language or translation, text to speech, text to voice, those are the challenges which industry is facing. And to give an accurate or close to 100% success rate is another challenge which industry is targeting, especially for making this AI foolproof enough to achieve 100% accuracy point of view. There are various use cases are there for AI, but these are the two major one which we need to, I think we need to be more focused as a collaborative approach. Yeah.
Yeah. No, let me just start with the example you gave of 150 years of medical data lying in the country. My question is where? Data, just data. Even then my question holds, where? Let's assume it's medical data we're talking about. Even in the leading hospitals, when you go there, your own data is not available. So you have to bring your files, you have to bring your previous records, and so on and so forth. Most of the data, unfortunately, that we have is lying with either MNCs or telecom companies. There's no third entity where we've got large amount of structured data lying. The e-governance data has got or the data lying with the government has massive amount of issues. I'll not go into it. There's massive amount of regulatory issues associated with it. Just one small example, if you want to use the data for AI, how do you know which of those data are of children or which is not? If it's for children, you are going against the current draft data protection rules that has been framed last week. If some of the data is of a dead person, there is no clarity on the right to privacy of dead people. So if you end up having the data and training your model, as per some of the interpretation of the existing rules, your entire AI model is defunct and you have to throw it away, because you can't extract the data and say, I'll unlearn only that part of the data. You have to delete the data, right? But if you have already extracted the learning and you have trained your model, what do you do with the model? Because you don't know how you have trained it. I mean, anyone who understands AI will understand what I'm saying. You don't understand that black box. You feed data and you take out the learning. So there are challenges of using existing data, and unfortunately India is not the best position. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology is following the recommendation that my panelists just made, that let's buy a large number of GPUs. So they've gone out and they're shopping for 10,000 GPUs. Great thing, because from that process we'll learn how to actually use AI and give it to a larger set of people than just those who have got access to it, which is very, very limited. So we should not have AI haves and AI have-nots in that sense. But once you develop the AI, it is not that you need to use a mobile phone or a laptop or a high-end system to be able to leverage AI. AI gets used in the backend. If you're booking a train and if you're going through some of these apps, they are predicting to you whether the train tickets will be confirmed or not, and that prediction is coming through AI. So you're not directly using AI, but in the backend you're using AI. Let me take another instance of AI in our lives. The first death by AI, I don't know whether the rest of the world noted it, because the power of Boeing stops it from being noted, but I have put it into every single article, was the downing of the two Boeing 747 Maxes, the Lion Air 1 and the Ethiopian Airlines. The downing happened because of AI. AI pushed the planes down and they crashed. And is it because of improper training of the AI, or it was improper coding? I don't want to get into the details of it. I am only demonstrating the power of AI that has already killed 507 human beings like you and me. And if you're not able to provide the data infrastructure to AI, it's going to do damage in multiple ways out there, right? Again, I'm not a naysayer for technology. We need to go ahead, we will go ahead. Nothing is going to stop us. But we need to make sure that when we are looking at the social aspects of AI, we cover it to the extent possible. And therefore, all infrastructure, including data, regulatory, compute, all of that is made available so that we are at the cutting edge of AI and we are able to ring fence ourselves from the negativities of AI.
I think that's very interesting. Just delving a little bit into data. I mean, I know this has been done to death, that data is the new oil. But I was very impressed with the Niti Aayog's publication, which said it's actually not the new oil, it's better. It's permanent. The more you add to it, the better it gets. And just parking that thought, it seems to me that privacy is the real challenge to procuring and keeping data. And I know that many hospitals are confused about whether they should retain the data set or not. And so they immediately delete it, which is why you go in with your files. And I think it's also because of the lack of clarity that you very rightly mentioned with respect to legal obligations. So again, as a lawyer, I have to step in and say that I believe it incumbent that for anything to make progress, the one thing the government can help, and they are the legislators, is allow for clarity. And a framework of rules and regulations that A, work, therefore speak with stakeholders, and B, are easy to follow so that your legal and compliance costs don't kill you before you get to actually innovating with AI. But just park this thought, the individual versus the population. Is there no way that one can actually access data and keep it? Where you drop the individual out of the equation and sort of look at, because from my very, I would say, basic understanding from what you said, Mr. Bhattacharya, it seems that that's not an option. If you delete a portion of the data, say my name and my email address, then my data ceases to exist or be relevant.
Let me take an example so that we understand what we're talking about. You would have heard of apps which create images, faces, which do not really exist in real life, right? But how do they create it? They take the nose and the eyes from different people, the ears from another person, the forehead from another person, mix it up, mash it up, and roughly that's how they come out with a new face. Now, if that face is used by somebody and there is an iris scan that has happened, and God forbid that iris matches your iris because somehow the AI used your iris, and crime was committed, fraud happened, a 60-year-old woman's account was cleaned up using that, you will be held responsible. So there are implications of such a consent, of such data being used. Now, is it far-fetched? Well, in some cases it is a little far-fetched, but in some cases it is not. And therefore, there is no hand-waving answer to any of it. These are all issues that we have to go through it, we have to muddle through it, solve each one of them, see what are the real-life cases that are popping up. As the US Army says, all rules are written in blood, which is somebody dies, then they write the rule. That this is what you must do in the aircraft carrier, this is what you should not do, and so on and so forth. Similar is the case with AI. Similar was the case with, for example, digital payments. All digital payment rules are literally written in blood. People are losing crores of money, they're losing their savings, and then rules are coming up. The same will happen with an AI. The attempt is to minimize bloodshed as much as possible, and bloodshed I'm using in a allegorical manner. We want to minimize that and have as much of minimize side impact. Example being again the 570 people killed by Boeing 747 MAX. We don't want that to happen.
Any comments from the panel on this last bit? I sense we are near the end, so I'd really like the panel to comment.
Sure. Dr. Jaijit, with a little bit of, all due respect, I would say that the analogy you gave about models generating by mixing is not entirely accurate. But that said, one thing that we're lucky with in this space is that these are algorithms, and there are certain mathematical guarantees that we can make. So what you were saying earlier, there is something called differential privacy. There are ways of training with differential privacy that guarantee complete anonymity. I think what you'd said, so by the way, none of this is trivial. If it was, it would already be implemented. The government, it's their job to protect people, and that's the most important thing. But at the same time, one of the big impediments right now is the simple feeling of kaun padega chakkar mein. So if we could come up with, and I think this is our responsibility as well as the industry to go and propose the right set of rules. And if we get the right framework, I think if we no longer have kaun padega, we can build some amazing data sets. India has the most amount of diversity in the world.
No, absolutely. Go ahead and use it. So what I said is with extreme responsibility. In fact, coincidentally, my BTech project at IIT Kanpur way back in 1993 was on neural networks, using at that time what was called a super mini computer. I'm sure my current mobile phone is more powerful than that computer. Yep. My PhD in IIT Delhi was on privacy middleware. So coincidentally, I understand both the issues fairly well. And therefore, my rider was that, yes, we are talking about extremities for the larger set of people to understand what is it that we're talking about. Unless we bring it out in extremes, it is not easy for policymakers to understand what we're talking about. There are catches. We can't simply hand wave and say there is nothing over there, it is a pristine technology. That is not the case. But taking that as an excuse and not moving forward with AI is also not an excuse. So we need to move forward keeping all the views in mind. And as I said, rules will get written in blood, and that's what will happen.
And so basically, for the industry point of view, self-regulation is important for making a faith for each industry, especially in fintech domain. There are a lot of regulatory compliance are there, especially RBI, SEBI, and other one, and which not only help industry, but it give an confidence to the individual who are using this digital payment. Because those things are very important. Whatever the algorithms which we are using in an AI model, that has to be audited, that has to be approved, verified, so that we have to use this ethic way of using the AI. So ethic way of using the AI is very, very important to make this more successful for the social cause.
Okay, Arun's said, sorry, I beg your pardon, Anurag said what he had to. I think with that we'll open the floor for questions. Thank you for the amazing discussion, Dr. Bhattacharya, Anurag, Arun, Diwank. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Hi, this is to the panel and especially Dr. Bhattacharya. There is a Prime Minister Surya Ghar Yojana for solar adoption, right? Is there any intersection of artificial intelligence with climate change and energy, and any comments of the panel on that? So intersection of AI with climate change and adoption of solar and batteries, yeah?
Well, that's beyond my understanding. I'm sure there will be, because all of those are technologies. A simple thing as trying to figure out which way the sun is going, you would use AI. But anything more than that is beyond my understanding and capability. So I'll pass it to the rest of the panel.
I think, one of the, it's not about, one fact is that all of these GPUs are very electricity, consuming. So that definitely is a negative impact, right? But I'm sure that I'm very hopeful, honestly, that new ways of leveraging electricity or, these technologies would unlock. Of course, there are some physical limitations specific to solar cells that they can only reach, a certain level of efficiency and not beyond that. But I think one thing which is going to definitely happen is that a lot of new research avenues are going to open up, which were not possible 2 years ago before, this transformative technology. And I hope, something comes up.
Would you like to add to this? I can assure you I'm most unqualified to add to it, so I won't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically this renewable energies now government or even industry of this energy is moving to the renewable energy. There are various things and initiatives which government are coming up. Definitely technology play an important role. AI definitely is one of the technology, is a part of using for effective distribution or storage of the renewable energy. So yeah, so hope for the best, and we have to leverage this social renewable energy for a better social cause.
I think there was another question.
So this is a question I've asked in our previous panel also, but I didn't get a very satisfactory answer. But I'm still going to raise. This is a space that I operate in. The fact that my sense is that a lot of discussions in India around AI are about applications. Things that we are doing at a smaller scale, and we are not. I feel we are not able to conceive of the rate at which AI is becoming disruptive to the entire society. Disruptive in positive or negative sense, but it's massive from where I can see. And I also see that most of the governments or authorities are reacting much later to it, and reacting far too late. And we already have a digital divide pre-AI, and AI is going to cause a much bigger, a gap between the people who have access to not just the know-how of AI, but also who control the AI, and the ones that don't. Both from a north-south divide, from a west-east perspective, from America, China, and others' perspective. And so little is being done from a governance of AI perspective. Are you aware of some of the initiatives that are being done, or what should be done to try and govern AI better?
Diwank, would you like to?
Sure. To try and govern AI better, I think, what I heard you say, we are, of course, this is, to me, it is not that surprising that governments are reactive. There is a lot of, risk aversion that is a natural part of, governing, and that's there. But I think it is an opportunity, really. Like, we know that this is a big disruptor and a huge shift. So if you go all in, you can make the most of this wave and reposition yourself as a leader where previously we weren't. That said, I think it will take a significant amount of political willpower and courage to do that. At the same time, in terms of governing it, I think the first step is honestly education and understanding what AI is and how it is going to impact the way we build products, understand our world. I think even that is missing right now. So we can't really, think about governing it seriously until we do that.
Yeah. So I would like to add points. Especially, the government is not reactive, but the domain which we are operating is a fintech domain or banking domain. So the application which we are coming with nowadays for any digital applications to the industry, so a lot of reactive approach is there. So proper customer due diligence has to be there before onboarding the customer to the bank, and protecting the customer privacy, customer data. Governments are taking a lot of steps from the regulatory point of view. They are coming up revised guidelines to protect the right for the individual. Similarly, this DPDP Act definitely give a more confidence to the end citizen on how the data will be used in the respective applications. That could be the second one. Regulatory is another one. And as a technology standpoint of view, yes, there are definitely a scope of improvement and for using of the new algorithms, new AI models. definitely require some amount of time to stabilize or to make perfect 100%. But yes, there are mix of that one. As a technology point of view or regulatory point of view, governments are more proactive than a reactive approach. So this is my point to addressing your point. Hope this will answer your query.
Let me also chime in because I've got strong views in the matter. I was keeping quiet because it's a complex question. But my real question is, why do you want to govern AI? What do you want to get out of it? There is a small difference between governing and regulating. So I'll stick to the word regulating because governing has a positive twist to it. Why do you want to regulate AI? Where is AI right now? These are green shoots, tiny entities. There's a little baby that's getting created. And trust me, India is far behind. Does anybody think India is ahead in the AI curve? No, we are far behind, right? So these are, the entrepreneurs who have stuck their neck out. They're working day in and day out, working extremely hard, trying to get data, trying to train the models, trying to get the market, trying to convince them, change and rip apart the current fabric to make sure that their models get adopted. And bang comes a regulation. I don't know if you have seen the draft regulations floating around. They must tell how they have trained the model. There must be explainability. They must come and explain. Now, before they can even develop, you're thinking of how to explain, how to keep the data, how to communicate what is the algorithm that you have used. Well, algorithm largely is neural networks and then LLM. It's there in the books. Go and buy it in Amazon.com and buy the book. Why are you coming back to me? What is that you want from the entrepreneurs? I'm not entirely sure whether there's a right time to have regulations, and those are views I've strongly expressed at the PMO, I've strongly expressed at BEIT. We have had sessions where we explained why we don't believe this is the right time and why regulating AI at this point in time is a challenge. But there's an open discussion. This is my point of view, right? Fortunately, the government seems to have heeded to it. So they are having a wait and watch approach. If the audience believes and the delegates believe or the panelists believe that there is an urgent need for strong regulations in AI, we can have that discussion. But as of now, I have not heard the other side of it, that why do we need these regulations? If it's explainability, it's there in the books, go read it up. Why do you want to bother these fantastic entrepreneurs and bog them down? So that's the viewpoint.
I think that's a great point. I'll just add, because you also asked about some initiatives which are being taken. I think Meta's approach is, really wonderful there. That, of course, when OpenAI is the, poster child of GenAI and LLMs, and their models are, of course, when they launched, they were quite hidden, right? Nobody knew what is actually working. But I think the Meta's approach and Jan LeCun's approach is about actually open sourcing those models, right? For example, who governs internet? Nobody governs internet. It's essentially governed. It's all code written and open source, and then available for view and scrutiny by everybody, on the globe. So all developers and everybody can go and scrutinize it, and that's the approach which Meta is also taking. And I think that itself is a huge step. And essentially, instead of a single think tank governing or regulating AI, it's the entire globe regulating AI. And I believe that's probably a right approach, which is going to only grow as these AI models get further democratized.
I want to give some clarification.
Please,
So, what he's saying is right, because that's a narration being given out. So, with your permission, internet, this was a popular narration given that internet is not governed by anybody. Till the world woke up and realized that it's governed by a contract given from Department of Commerce, Government of US to ICANN. And that's how it was running. Till the WikiLeaks happened and so on and so forth, where the entire world woke up and said, what the hell are you doing? You're actually snooping on your own citizen, and clearly you're snooping on us, because you, as in the government of US, have got control over the internet. Thereafter, what they did was makes ICANN an independent entity, so-called independent, and had representatives from around the world. I am one of those representatives, representing Asia, India, and Australia, and something else, I get New Zealand. And I represent this part of the geography on ICANN. Trust me, I don't have any visibility or control over what's going on. It is still controlled by government of US. So I'll rest my case, and that is where my point was. You're very right. That's where my point is that we need to build our own technologies. We need to have control over it. We can't throttle AI. We can't get into this trap of let's regulate ourselves, shoot ourselves in the foot, tie up our hands and legs. We can't do that at this stage. We are very far behind. We need to reach that level and then have a say in the high stake tables of AI.
Sir, I have not a question, but to actually both of you, because you talked about US and regulation, AI, and how the subject also is helping the social good. So yesterday or day before yesterday, I read a news that current President Joe Biden has issued an order that India, they have put in category B country, where we have to take permission to access the data. There are certain countries where they can have access, whereas China and Russia is in category C, they have no access. And if that order is not reversed within 120 days when Trump comes, there will be a huge impact on what we are trying to do, best utilize the AI data. So just in case if any of you read that news and you want to elaborate, these kind of, because you mentioned about the US controlling, so.
What kind of data are you talking about, sir?
I mean, I'm actually asking more details if you have heard that news and you want to add more context.
I haven't done that.
Okay. Okay.
I did read the news, but only the snippet on the first page. So
Yeah, that's what. So what kind of data it is and
I'm not
how
sure
it will
it was
impact.
only
Because
about
a
data,
lot
but
of we are trying to do in this room is make best use of what we have, and all of a sudden, if a country stops the data which we need, what kind of data is that?
So I believe this DBDP Act, which and the rule is recently drafted, and hopefully border data transfer is already is one of the line item and which protect the that one. So we are hopeful that whatever the step which government is taking is helpful for our country.
Okay. Just on that point, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, no, thanks for clarifying the questions. I'll repeat it for everybody's benefit. Essentially, there are restrictions on AI-related technologies, to make it a broader question, imposed by US. And that kind of underlines what I was saying a little while ago. AI is an extremely powerful tool, weapon, technology, no matter what you call it, right? It has got military usage, it has got civilian usage, it'll give massive industrial benefit to anybody who has got control over it. So US is not a fool, right? If they have originated AI in that sense, then they'll try to have full control over it. They will need skills and they will come to India for the skills, but the technology gets controlled by them. We have also heard narrations that India need not create their own LLMs. Let's just provide the techno-coolies to this process. I don't know how many of you have subscribed to it. It came from somebody quite credible, but I don't think that implies that the statement itself is credible. We also have China breathing down our necks, and more importantly, breathing down on the necks of US in terms of AI. And some believe that China is perhaps ahead of US in terms of AI. And therefore, under this framework that you just mentioned, and very rightly so, and very important point, there is all the more reason why we should do everything that the panel was talking about, that can the government step in and create a larger framework, and the government is attempting to do it. We are still, we are the fourth largest economy by now, but we are still not a rich country. We are a rich country of poor people. So where do we allocate our resources? Do we buy more GPUs or do we provide more hospitals? Right? That's really what the debate is. So still 4,000 crores has been spent to buy 10,000 GPUs so that we can start getting our act together in AI. It's going to be a longish journey, and therefore the lesser number of breaks we have in our discussions, the better. And I was indicating the regulations and so on and so forth. We don't need that now. We need it once you've reached a level where there is harm actually happening. That's a time then we come in with the regulations. Right now is the time to catch up with largely US and China. Anyone else?
Anyone else on the panel? I've received a signal to wrap up, so I'm going to do that. I just want to say, leave the panel with a happy thought that the rules are still in draft form, and please feel free to comment on them as strongly as you will. Maybe we can stop some disasters from happening. But with that, thank you so much for this wonderful panel discussion, and I learned a lot. Thank you so much.